Okay, so I want to talk briefly about science that has been traditionally practiced in ancient societies. Okay, so in ancient societies, the major ancient civilizations are China, Egypt, and India, and you will see a lot of similarities among these three civilizations on how they practice the idea of science. Okay, it's very intuitive, it's very imaginative. It will make sense to you. Okay, so the first science that they focus a lot on is the idea of sacred geometry. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. Okay, but the idea of sacred geometry is that the underlying fundamental structure of the universe, of reality, are geometric shapes. Okay, and from these geometric shapes, you can give rise to every possible reality. All right, so this is called the egg of life, and from the egg of life, you just keep on expanding it, you will get all of reality. Okay, these are actually 3D, 4D shapes. I can't illustrate them, but if you're curious, go online. These are beautiful ideas. Okay, so there are two possible ways to understand sacred geometry. The first possible way is to understand them as solids. Okay, so the Egyptians understood them as solids, and Plato understood them as solids. Remember, Plato, a lot of his philosophy is derived from the Egyptians, and the idea of sacred geometry, it's very apparent in Plato's writings, and he got this from the Egyptians. So basically, the idea is that if you train yourself on how to understand sacred geometry and how to manipulate sacred geometry in your head, you can access God. Okay? So the first idea is to understand it as solids. But there's another way you can understand sacred geometry, and it's as vibrations, as energy, as a force. Okay? And this is the way that the Chinese understand sacred geometry, right? As qi, as life force, and also as well as the Hindus. And so imagine a monk who's breathing, okay? Who's meditating. What is he doing? He's breathing and he's meditating and he's focusing his energies in order to achieve the sacred geometry within him. The monk will often say things like Om, Om, Om. Okay? He's causing vibrations that try to mimic the sacred geometry. Why is he doing this? Because the belief at this time is that if there is a God, okay, if there's a creator God, the question is, how does it think, right? It's not going to think with words the way we do. It's going to think using mathematics, with sacred geometry. And by thinking, he is going to create the underlying universe. And how does he do that? He does it by breathing. Breathing in, emitting sacred geometry, and then breathing out, breathing back in, okay? Inhaling, exhaling. And this will give rise to the universe. So if you're a monk or a priest, you practice meditation in order to try to mimic the act of creation. And if you are able to succeed, then what will happen is you harmonize yourself with the vibrations of the universe. And therefore, you're able to access divine energy. Okay, so that's the idea of sacred geometry. And again, it's a very complicated idea, but that's a general gist. Any questions? Okay, and again, this should make intuitive sense. Okay, this should make intuitive sense to you. All right.